try to travel from Fredericksburg, St. Croix to Coral Bay, St. John. And I think you begin to comprehend our system of transportation. Whether on island or between islands, transportation is unacceptably inadequate. Do you have any specific plans for public transportation in the Virgin Islands?
Yes, I think we had lost some very powerful opportunities in really making the case for additional federal monies for road systems and for public transportation. I remember well when Vern Hodge was the Attorney General under Governor Wong Louis and talked about this case of pursuing excise taxes on the products produced by then Hess Oil and Hovensa, the oil revenues. And that case went to almost a settlement with the government and continued on. And there were many debates in the congressional races about whether oil revenues, excise taxes on oil products was a viable alternative or not. And that discussion went on, and everybody knows, the position from it was a waste of time to even Basalatli's position that it was a viable source of revenue. But I think the opportunity that was missing was that if we didn't pursue the case on the excise taxes, why were we able, and why don't we not use the opportunity to have additional benefits under the ICE-T monies or the road monies in the U.S. Congress in terms of the 3 islands not connected, three different districts, the federal lands in the territory, the federal roads in the territory, and to be able to drive additional funds into the road system to provide good roads and transportation. In the Public Finance Authority, we were able to go and convince, with the adoption of appropriate law in the legislature, convince the Department of Transportation to allow us to use monies to float what is known as a Garvey bond. We used federal money, federal highway money, and we built an entire freight facility on the island of St. John. We can use that ability to get additional DOT funds and float Garveys for road transportation or, in fact, public transportation to upgrade the system. We recently had the acquisition of some ferries that came into the territory, albeit the Department of Public Works didn't adequately consult with folks in the development of the ferries, and they have their issues. But there's tremendous opportunity in the U.S. Congress to drive and fund project-ready initiatives for transportation and public transportation. And I look forward to working with an aggressive delegate, an energetic delegate in the next Congress to drive project-ready projects in terms of funding for ground transportation, road construction, and inter-island transportation services. It's a similar problem that they had in the state of Alaska, that they have been able to accommodate federal funds for the purposes of transportation of its citizens within the state.
What I would just simply add is when the monies is appropriated, they need to be used for that purpose. We have to begin to make good analysis of what is actually needed when it comes to transportation. What works for the St. Croix constituents might not necessarily work for the St. Thomas. So we have to ensure one, because we hear a lot about money, but I would submit to you, a lot of times money is not necessarily the issue. It is the management of the money that we receive and how it is dispersed. So I will focus more on, when we make assessments, we must first know and understand the purpose for why we're doing what we're doing. Why do we have boats now just sitting dry docked? Someone did not do the assessment that was necessary to ensure once it came, it was used for its purpose. And I will, thank you.
President Obama recently said that a first-class infrastructure brings first-class jobs. Part of the infrastructure is not only the roads on our island and their deplorable condition, but importantly the transportation, the inter-island transportation. It's very important that the government do that, but I see it as a government entering into public-private partnerships. We need to have more ferry service between the islands. We need to have more planes transportation between the islands. And importantly, if we have more, especially ferry service between the islands, that will help our farmers here on St. Croix. I hope we get a question about developing our agriculture, especially on St. Croix, to market their products on St. Thomas and in St. John and on Water Island. So I think very strongly that we must develop our infrastructure in order for us to have first-class jobs. And an important and vital part of our infrastructure is the transportation between the islands.
A comprehensive transportation plan is critical, and Basil Otley and I will have one. But let me just say that I increased the surface transportation funds coming into this territory from 12 million to 20 million, which is what makes the increase in the Garvey bonds possible. So the territory has benefited by having increased money in the surface transportation fund that I was able to work with the department and the Congress to provide. We expanded the roads that could be fixed with that money. We included subsidies for ferries, never have had it before. And we have encouraged this administration to take advantage of Tiger and other grants in the Department of Transportation, which Basil Otley and I will aggressively pursue. There is funding that we have not taken advantage of, but we can do better, and with our administration we will. Beginning with a comprehensive transportation plan that includes buses, ferries, and other entities.